David Miller, a successful architect, just opened his perfect wife Sarah's makeup bag. He just wanted a hair tie, but froze staring at an old faded wedding photo. Sarah in a gown, smiling so sweet, leaning into a stranger's arms. The back said, "Happy first anniversary, my love. Dated 3 years ago." They'd only been married 2 months. She swore it was her first marriage. Never even dated before she met him. She always seemed so flawless. Her beauty like a calming presence. What a twisted secret could she be hiding? Hit subscribe and let's uncover this together. David was 35, a successful architect in a bustling LA firm. His career was thriving, but his love life had been a blank canvas until Sarah. He met her at a corporate gala. She was an interpreter for a partner firm. She wore a simple cream-colored dress. Her long dark hair cascaded down her back. Her smile revealed charming dimples. Her English was flawless, impressive even. But what truly struck him was her genuine thank you to the waitstaff, so sincerely kind. They started dating. David quickly realized Sarah was almost too good to be true. She never asked him to buy her anything. Instead, she often picked out clothes for him. She loved making breakfast, she said. Woke up at 6 every single morning. Prepared him eggs, bacon and fresh coffee. She remembered his parents' birthdays. Sent gifts ahead of time reminding him to call. After just 3 months, David proposed at a romantic rooftop restaurant in downtown LA. Sarah paused for a moment, then nodded, her eyes welling up with happy tears. Their wedding was simple, just close friends. Sarah said she didn't want any lavish expense. Even her wedding dress was rented, she claimed. She wanted to save money for their future, she said. David thought she was truly one in a million. Their married life was like a dream. Sarah kept their house perfectly organized. Every evening David came home from work. A delicious hot meal was waiting on the table. She never complained, never threw tantrums. Always gentle, always understanding. David felt like he'd hit the jackpot. He'd found his angel, a true godsend. That night, after finding the photo, David couldn't sleep, a wink tossing and turning. He lay next to Sarah, listening to her steady breathing. His mind was a stormy sea of doubt and confusion. The next morning he called in sick. A heavy suspicion had taken root in his mind. He was determined to unearth this disturbing truth. David decided to start digging into Sarah's past. She said she grew up in Santa Monica. Her parents were both college professors, he was told. He drove to the upscale neighborhood she described. The building manager there didn't recognize her name. He said the Millers moved out years ago. Their daughter hasn't lived here since her divorce. Divorced daughter, the words echoed in his head. David stood outside the complex, feeling a chill. He then visited the university Sarah mentioned. They had no record of a Sarah Miller student, nor any professors with her parents' names. Every piece of her perfect story crumbled. He began to replay every detail of their marriage. Sarah never let him visit her parents. Every time he suggested it, she'd say they're traveling abroad or feeling unwell. He never once questioned her excuses. Her ID, he suddenly thought, where was it? David frantically searched every drawer, every cabinet in their house, but found nothing. No driver's license, no passport, no birth certificate. She'd just said she put them away safe to avoid losing them. He had believed her blindly, like a fool. That evening he walked into their home. Sarah met him at the door with her usual sweet smile. "Honey, you're home early today, how nice. I made your favorite pot roast for dinner." David looked at her beautiful, familiar face. Her gentle smile now felt alien, cold and distant. Sarah, we've been married 2 months. And I still haven't met your parents. How about we visit them this weekend, okay? Sarah's smile faltered for a split second. Then quickly returned as she smoothly replied. Oh, they're back in Europe again, dear. I'll try to reach them later, okay? That was the 3rd time she'd said her parents were abroad. David silently counted her growing lies. David didn't confront her about the lies immediately. He chose to observe her more closely. Every afternoon Sarah would leave the house, saying she was off to yoga or shopping with friends. But he secretly followed her one day. He watched her at Union Station in a quiet corner. She stood there for nearly 2 hours just waiting. Then she left looking disappointed and alone. Who was she waiting for, he wondered. Her phone was always on silent mode. She said it was just a habit of hers. But he noticed she would quickly delete messages after glancing at them with a flash of panic. A few times he caught a glimpse of the sender's name. It was simply labeled creditor. The word creditor sent a jolt of fear through David. He started paying closer attention to their finances. His paycheck went into their joint account. Sarah managed the household expenses, she said, and put the rest into savings for their future. He had never questioned her about their money. That day he secretly visited the bank and checked their account's transaction history. He discovered large sums of money being transferred every month to a strange account. Over $80,000 already gone. His life savings almost completely drained. David sat in the bank lobby, his hands trembling. He thought he'd married a grounded woman. One who didn't care about luxury cars or big houses. Turns out he'd just been a target from the start. That evening Sarah had cooked a magnificent dinner. A spread of delicious dishes as always. David couldn't bring himself to eat a single bite. Sarah, where did our savings go? Sarah's hand froze holding a serving spoon. What savings, dear? I don't understand. My $80,000 in the account, where is it? Sarah's face changed rapidly. From initial panic to calm composure in 2 seconds flat. Honey, I invested in a project recently. I wanted to surprise you with the big profits. I'll tell you all about it once it pays off. What project? Who did you invest with? David pressed. Sarah's eyes darted away, avoiding his gaze. Just a friend, honey, you don't know them. David looked at her exquisite face. Those eyes that usually held such tender affection were now filled with nothing but lies. David didn't push her for more answers. He decided to investigate that account himself. Through a friend at the bank he found the account holder. A man named Mark Johnson living in San Diego. He drove all the way to San Diego, heart pounding. Outside a rundown apartment building, he saw Sarah dressed in a simple t-shirt and jeans, looking completely different from her usual elegant self. She was talking to a middle-aged man. A little girl about 5 or 6 years old, clinging to the man's hand, calling Sarah mommy. David stood frozen on the street corner watching. His whole world seemed to spin violently out of control. He walked up to them. Sarah saw him and gasped, her face instantly turning ashen white. David, what are you doing here? What brought you here? The man also looked stunned, staring at David. Who are you? He asked curiously. I'm her husband, David replied firmly. From LA, her legal husband. The man suddenly became agitated, yelling loudly. Liar, you damn liar, you cheated me. You said you went to LA to work and earn money. You promised to save for our daughter's surgery. You said you wanted to remarry me, you scumbag. Sarah stood there, tears streaming down her face. She looked at David, then at the other man. Unable to utter a single coherent word. David looked at the man, then at the little girl. She was about 5 or 6 years old. She didn't resemble Sarah at all. "You're her ex-husband?" David asked. "Yes, we divorced 3 years ago. She owed a ton of debt and just disappeared. My daughter has a congenital heart condition. She needs surgery and I desperately need money. Sarah just showed up last month, begging to remarry me. I thought she'd changed." David finally understood the whole twisted story. That $80,000 was for the girl's surgery. But why did Sarah lie to remarry him? Why did she marry David in the first place? He remembered their dating conversations. She'd subtly asked about his savings, asked about his life insurance policies, even inquired about the value of his house. He thought she was planning their future together. Turns out she was just assessing his financial worth. David didn't make a scene, didn't yell or shout. He simply turned and walked away silently. Sarah chased after him, sobbing and begging. "David, please let me explain myself." He stopped but didn't turn around to face her. "Tell me," he said, his voice flat and empty. "My daughter needs surgery. I had no other choice. I couldn't just stand by and watch her die. I couldn't." "So you lied to me?" David finally turned around. He looked into her eyes, now filled with despair. "So you married me just for my money, is that it?" Sarah fell to her knees, tears soaking her face. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I was truly desperate. I planned to pay you back after her surgery. I truly would have made our marriage work." David looked at her, his once perfect wife, now kneeling on the ground, utterly defeated. He didn't hit her, didn't curse her, didn't even scold her. He just crouched down and gently helped her up. "The $80,000 I gave you, keep it," he said. "Use it for your child's treatment." Sarah looked at him, stunned, tears still falling. "Why?" David just let out a weary sigh. "Because you were also a person once. You had your own struggles and pain. But that doesn't excuse what you did to me." He turned and walked away, leaving Sarah kneeling. That night David moved out of the house. He took only his personal belongings with him. The divorce papers lay on the kitchen table, his signature neatly penned at the bottom. That marriage felt like a vivid nightmare finally ending. A year later, David heard through mutual acquaintances Sarah's daughter had a successful surgery. She hadn't reached out to him again after that. Nor had she tried to repay the $80,000. But David didn't regret giving her the money. It was the price for a human life after all. That act of kindness brought him a strange peace. He later started dating someone new. A woman who was divorced with a child of her own. She wasn't perfectly poised like Sarah. She had her flaws, would get angry sometimes. And they would argue about daily life things. But she was real and honest and true. When they were together, David always remembered: never chase after people who seem too perfect. Because perfection often hides a darker truth. True love is about seeing each other's imperfections and still choosing to stay and grow together. What happened to Sarah after that he didn't know. Maybe she remarried again, maybe she worked hard to repay her debts, maybe she learned her lesson. He wished her well but never wanted to see her again. He walked away from the old pain. We all dream of finding that perfect person. A flawless partner, a perfect marriage, a fairytale ending. But reality often shows us perfection means deception. Someone who truly loves you won't always be impeccable. They'll get angry, they'll be stubborn, they'll make mistakes. Because those flaws are what make them truly real. Sarah's problem wasn't having a sick daughter, or being divorced in her past. That's life. It was her choice to deceive and manipulate. She used an illusion of perfection as her disguise, while burying her true past in the shadows. David's final act of forgiveness wasn't weakness. It was a profound understanding of life. He realized hating someone only hurts yourself. That $80,000 was a lesson learned. A painful path to growth and wisdom. So if you ever meet someone who seems too perfect, ask more questions, look closer at the details. Real relationships aren't afraid of imperfections. What they fear most is deep-seated dishonesty. Leave a comment below. Have you ever been fooled?